All right. Welcome to the Medicinal Mass Media Broadcasting Company. I am Demon Stride. Today we have a fireside chat. My guest today is no other, Jim Waterworld. Uh, let's see. Go ahead and bring you in. How you doing today, Jim?
Doing awesome. Thanks,
Awesome.
Demon, for hosting. Thanks
Absolutely.
for thanks for picking up from me from last night and bringing it here tonight.
Absolutely. So what are we going to be talking about?
Well, I think you and I thought maybe, and I'll let you choose because I'm good with all of them. Whether you want to talk about the earth, the ground we walk on, or if you want to talk about health, which may be difficult with YouTube, so I'll defer to your decision on that. Or we can talk about the history of the good old US of A. And I think because I saw you with dogs the other night, you had We the People
Mhm.
behind you. So maybe you're going to take more of a positive spin on the history of the United States than I will. So,
Uh,
uh,
you know what? I'm fine with doing either the history or the ground we walk on. So maybe we
yeah,
can actually span both.
yeah, that's fine. And it's your decision when we stop.
Yeah, I'm shooting for about an hour. So
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, if you want to do 30 minutes on each one and
mhm.
go from there, I you can keep time. I can keep time. It's all good.
Yeah, I'll keep track. Floor's yours.
Oh, I think we're going to start with obviously um, we'll talk about our good Earth right now, and not and then go over to the PSYOP, which I think is the United States of America. My whole thing is I believe we lived on this thing for about 62 years of my life. I'm pretty old, unfortunately, but I think we lived on this thing for like 62 years. And it took me understanding what is happened with convid. I'll just say that with convid, and my understanding of that. When I got done studying that, I decided to look for other things that I've been lied to about, and obviously this thing came up real easy because you're lied to about tiny invisible microbes. Then you maybe been lied to about this thing here. So when you look at this thing, and after you looked at it for a little while, me about 16 months, you realize that this is just a joke. I mean, we're at 23.4 degrees tilt. We're told that we wobble just a little bit. We're told that we spin or turn at the equator at 1,037 miles per hour. And then we're told that we go around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour, which is 30 kilometers per second. Hopefully, we'll have a chance to just touch on Michelson Morley. And then we're going around the Milky Way galaxy at 450,000 miles per hour, and then going around the ever expanding universe at 1.3 million miles per hour. If you just think that word ever expanding, it makes you kind of go, that's just nuts. So we don't live on this. A lot of people like to talk about models. We don't live on a model, and we don't live on a map. We don't live on a simulation. So that's what we can talk about first, if you like to, Demon.
Absolutely. That was honestly a lot of numbers. I don't think I wrote all those down. How did you manage to memorize all that as a non-glober?
You got to remember, Demon. I wasn't a glober, but I was a globee, and
Globey.
and and my this little history when I was 10 years old. My folks got me a 400 power telescope. Cost like $80. They still cost $80, which is really interesting. And the first thing I did was I went outside and I put it together. Went outside in December in our backyard in Illinois and looked at the moon, obviously. I just loved my outer space. I love my outer space. I mean, I'm old enough to have watched Star Trek from 1966 to 69. I was very young, but I remember watching it and falling in love with it, thinking that we could speed our way around the galaxy, right?
So
And
Kirk's your captain then.
Captain Kirk, Spock, McCoy,
Hmm.
Sulu, Scotty, Uhura. I can't always pronounce her name right. So, yeah, and I've given up my TV in the last month. I don't watch TV anymore, but I do get Pluto TV. I watch Pluto TV on here.
Okay.
It's free, and they're all older shows, which I kind of grew up with. And I've watched Star Trek, like 3 or 4, times now. When I've watched 3 or 4 episodes at one time, and I just sit back and I just enjoy it because it kind of brings me back to my youth. But it blows me away. They use warp speed, bending and warp into space time. They use
Mhm.
uh, you listen to it. They say planet so many times. It's just unbelievable.
Do you
And
think
so,
do you think
go
that
ahead.
watching Star Trek as a child led to your indoctrination into believing into the globe mold model?
Yeah, because I really like that. I don't remember the exact time I hit into the outer space fairy tale that I call it now, or cartoon. But it had a big thing to do with it because back then, a demon, there was 3 TV stations. They were black and white: ABC, NBC, CBS. My mother got some magazines, U.S. News and World Report, and things like that. And I always like to read that because I used to be into politics quite a bit. And newspaper. We got the St. Louis News Dispatch, I think it was. We got the Peoria Journal Star, and our little town of 1,500 came out with their little old newspaper once a week. So yeah, I was very much indoctrinated. And I've told you this before, maybe. When I was in college, I had an earth science class, and I knew 25 constellations or so. And the earth science professor wanted me to go out with the students at night. I was a student. To go out with a student at night, and he wanted every student to know 10. So I would go out there at night so he wouldn't have to leave his family. And they tell me 10. I go, it's great. And so I loved it. And I remember looking at solar eclipses and going, wow, that's really cool. The moon has come between the Earth and the sun, right? Really cool. And I remember Comet Kohoutek, and I think you and I talked about Hale Bopp one time,
Hmm.
and I went out to look for Halley's Comet in 1986. It was supposed to be visible for 3 to 6 weeks, a couple of months, but 3 to 6 weeks in particular. And I'd go outside with my telescope, go away from the lights, never saw it. 3 to 6 weeks, never saw it once. And so I was told Comet Kohoutek in 1974 burn up going around the sun. Hale Bopp, I went out the east side of my town and I looked up in the sky and I saw this little blurry thing up there that had a tail about like that. It didn't have a tail. It was just a glare.
Hmm.
And so I just thought, oh, okay, that's Hale Bopp. And then I went, I think it was 93, 94, something like that. But I went
I
I went
recall
looking for
seeing it as
Haley's.
well.
Yeah, I went looking for Haley's Comet in '86. Never, never saw it. I was disappointed because it's supposed to be a big thing every 76 years. 1910. I guess Haley's Comet goes back to the Chinese of 235 BC when they first supposedly saw it. It's actually recorded as 235 BC. So it's just really interesting. So I was a Globee. I was never an online advocate or promoter of the ball. And so, but I like my globe. I like my globe. So
Hmm. Liking it wasn't enough to keep it.
when I realized if it wasn't for Convid, I would still be a Globee today. I
Interesting.
still would have voted for Trump in November 2020. That's the first election I ever sat out since I could vote in 1980. That's the first time I ever sat out an election. And and when I realized Convid, was Convid, then and I got tired. I stopped with looking at sequencing and genomes, even though in the last week or 10 days I've had a 2.5 hour video that I've watched that explain all of that stuff, genomes, cell cultures, and sequencing. So now I can talk about those things, which I never could. So
Yeah, I don't
and
know
so when
much
I
about them.
realized I was lied to about that, then I looked at the Earth. The Earth was easy because I don't see 8 inches per mile squared anywhere, and I don't see motion of the Earth around the sun anywhere. And Michelson Morley tells us that we don't have motion of the Earth around the sun. And then you get this other guy who did a bunch of experiments um, from like 1920 to 1930. He did hundreds of experiments. They all verified Michelson Morley. and I think his name was Dayton. I think his first name was Dayton. I think might have been Miller, his last name. So yeah, I'm never going back to the ball. I'm never going back to those tiny invisible microbes. And I'm never going to vote again.
Okay.
So
And
what about you? You've always been a baller.
um,
Always.
I
You,
guess
you,
there
you,
was a
you-
time. There's a time in my life when I guess I don't. I thought about this a lot when I was a kid. Like they say the world's a globe, but when you do look out, it seems like you only see flat. And when you mention that you don't see 8 inches per mile squared, I guess when I look out, I'm not doing calculations like that in my head. And is that something you're actually doing, or?
yeah, I'm up here in Michigan City, Indiana. I'm 38 miles from St. Joseph, Benton Harbor, 60 miles from Chicago beaches. And I have my P1000 right here to my right, and I have my tripod over here right in front of us. And yeah, one of the first things I did, Demon, when I came to this was I came to understanding that at 1 mile it's 8 inches, at 2 miles it's 32, at 3 miles it's 72, at 10 miles it's 66.67, at 20 miles it's 266.67, at 30 miles it's 600, at 40 miles it's 1066, at 50 miles it's 1666, at 60 miles it's 2400, at 90 miles it's 5400, and at 100 miles is 6,667 feet of supposed drop if we live on a ball of 3959 as far as radius in miles. So that's one of the first things I really memorized. Let me turn something off. It might make a little noise. I'll be back in 10 seconds.
Gotcha. All right, guys. Just to fill in, we are having a fireside chat here with my good friend Jim Waterworld. Currently, we're talking about the shape of the world and what convinced Mr. Jim to not believe in the globe.
Yeah, my heat comes on once in a while, and I forgot to turn it off before I came on with you. Um, because it's 35 degrees here. Um,
Yeah, same.
it's I did the measurements first. I did the up to 100 miles, 6,667 feet. Then I did the laser. I looked at the laser. I looked at blueprints that in engineering that never say that anything's ever built in for curvature of the Earth. I know a lot of globe earthers like to use geodetic surveying to explain that away, and that's fine. And uh, it's not some of the things I write things down, and then I sometimes I go get them copied off. And so when I go talk to a nice glober like yourself, a nice globe earther, I ask them to show me 8 inches per mile squared, show me motion of the Earth around the sun, show me curvy light and the meaning of air, show me large bodies of water at rest curving around your globe, show me actual photos of satellites in outer space that aren't cartoons, drawings, or animations. Show me one more than one edited video of the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Show me the International Space Station under construction in the vacuum of outer space, and then show me a blueprint of a highway, railroad, or oil pipeline or canal that account for curvature of the Earth during construction. And I never get an answer. I'll
You
get
know,
stuff. I'll get.
I
Go
guess for
ahead.
one of those, I guess I've definitely heard of bridges where the suspension pillars are not plumb to level.
They
Yeah.
tell they tell you the suspension bridge because it's like this instead of like this.
Hmm.
They tell you because it's like this that is plumbing down to the to the center of the earth supposedly, but that's a suspension bridge, and I can see why suspension bridges will be a little bit like this. And the other thing that gets me is I don't know if you remember Austin's interview with this one guy, if I forget his name. He said the difference of the top of a suspension or a bridge in New York City going across the river there was like 1.2 millimeters, and it was like 400 feet apart. It was like who measured that to prove that bridges are made this way? And one of the talking points of globe earthers is suspension bridges because instead of being like this, they're like this, but the water underneath the suspension bridge is flat. Just like people like to use that angle of Pontchartrain in Louisiana, they
Mhm.
like to use Pontchartrain, but if you hit it the right angle, then it's perfectly a stationary topographical plane. But you hit it at a certain time with the heat, you will get that curve that people are so proud of. But the water underneath it, the 23 miles or 22 miles across, is flat. It's not curving. And so you can build bridges that have a little bit of curve. But in Pontchartrain's situation, Soundly has that very famous video that Globe Earthers are so proud of, that that show curvature.
Mhm.
But you can do anything with photography you want to. Plus, you can do anything you want to with heat over the water, moisture over the water. You can do a lot of things. I want videos. That's what I'm going to do with Chicago across from Benton Harbor across from Chicago. I'm going to do videos.
Well,
And
so like Soundly, he gave us, I don't know if he had video, but it was photos. What on top of it would be acceptable to you? Like what other data statistics do you want put in there, and how do we show that they're legit in your eyes?
I lived for 4 years about 500 miles from Pontchartrain. I never went, and I should have gone. I didn't. But I did come to the best place on God's creation to see a stationary topographical plane, which is where I'm living right now. I'm 38 miles away, 62 miles across from Benton Harbor, St. Joseph, Michigan, which is the same thing basically,
Hmm.
and over in Chicago. So if I can see Chicago with my P1000, it doesn't matter about Lake Pontchartrain. It doesn't matter one bit. Lake Pontchartrain is 22, 24 miles across. But if I can see Chicago for myself on video
Hmm.
multiple times, and then the fun thing I'm going to do, Demon, I don't know if anybody's done this. I'm going to go over to Chicago. I'm 60 miles from there. I'm going to go over to Chicago to the beach, Chicago, and maybe get some elevation height, 30, 40 feet, whatever. And I'm going to look back at the dunes over here at Benton Harbor. They're supposed to go up 194 feet, about 20 stories. The hotels are only like 7 stories tall. But I'm going to look for the dunes. If I can see the dunes that are 194 feet tall, if I can see them, then if you guys want to argue refraction, you guys want to argue mirages, you guys want to argue all that stuff, what
Right.
you're saying, what you're saying, Demon, is if I can, this is your position. This is your position, and it's okay. You're saying that I'm looking from Benton Harbor to St. Joseph. I'm looking across that Chicago, and I see Chicago. Chicago's not actually there, and the sun is actually moving away behind Chicago during certain times of the summer.
Hmm.
So the sun and Chicago's not there. It's actually a holographic image that it's actually over the curve, over the bend, and refraction is bringing it up so I
Yeah.
can see it as if it's perfectly level. Now, if you want to believe that, okay, you want to believe that, that's fine. But this is the problem I have with the globe earthers. Not so much with you. You're actually probably the most sensible of anyone I've met. I
I'm the
used
least
to think
knowledgeable.
Matthew was, but I used to think Matthew was, but Matthew says things once in a while. It's like, what? Anyway, um, so it's just amazing that science is telling us not to trust our eyes, trust science, and I think
For the
that's really. I
dunes,
think there's a certain.
uh, when you're saying you're gonna witness the dunes from a certain distance, what I would ask is the measurement of the the height of the dune that you're going to be targeting, and then also those refractive indexes for that day, because that's going to be asked for the second you present it.
Yeah, if somebody wants to come at me with 7/6R, if like Ruhef wants to come at me at 7/6R plus 200% plus 300%, we have to understand how light works in the medium of air or in above ground. Light doesn't bend downward just so you can have your ball. It just
I,
doesn't do that.
I think it bends
When
in both directions, depending on the refraction
well,
of the
you hit
index.
it on the nose because when light goes in, the only way light can change direction is if when it goes through a molecule. When it goes through a molecule above air, above the water, or above land, it will go into the molecule. If it goes in top side, other side, bottom, or middle, that determines how much it changes direction inside the molecule until it goes out in a straight line and hits another molecule.
Right.
So the chances of that light hitting the same molecules in the same place, perhaps millions of molecules, so you can get your bend, so you can have your ball, is statistically unbelievably impossible. That's why you will get this. You will get this. You will get an up and down look. If you look, we had that GIF, that has looking from the water to land. It goes like this, because what's happening is the light is going through those molecules, and it's hitting one molecule here, it's hitting one molecule there, it's hitting one molecule here, and it's hitting one molecule there, and it's giving you this effect.
Right,
it's not giving you this.
But that is it's not like real time though. That is actually sped up. So like over the course of the day, you're seeing that refractive index change. So
You are. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. And nobody on our side says refraction doesn't exist. You have a situation. People ask me, what about looming and towering and stooping and sinking? Okay, cool. It doesn't give you your ball, and so yeah, I think time lapse is a great way to look at things. If you can actually time lapse your camera, with video, I think that's a great way to do it.
well, doesn't
but
that show that you could get something to be lifted up, past where it's not visible? If like we can actually see that happening in that GIF.
We've never witnessed it in that GIF, and we've never witnessed it in real life. We've never ever witnessed it. What when Tom Coombs is 30 miles from here, the ABC meteorologist 57.
Okay.
I've called him, and I went over 3 days ago, and I went into the ABC 57 affiliate TV station in South Bend. Tom didn't come in till 4. I was there about 10:30. Aaron is their general manager there. He was in a meeting, so I couldn't meet anybody. But I actually went in there and left my business card, talked to the person at the front desk, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this, Demon, because I am going to call these people out that say it was a mirage. And what he showed, you've probably seen the wiki, sitting there standing on the edge of the shore, looking at Chicago, and Tom shows this big angle going over, and he does it in a number of ways. You've probably seen it.
Yeah.
And see, that is an impossibility. What he showed, Tom showed us, and called it a mirage, is an impossibility. It cannot happen. But we are so tied into our ball, our globe, our oblique spheroid, that we can't give it up. Can you imagine? We're not going to talk about Lego tonight or LIGO tonight. But LIGO is very easy.
Hold on a second.
We'll
Are you hearing an echo?
I'm not hearing. I'm hearing you just great.
Okay.
No, I'm not hearing echo from mine. Are you hearing me echo?
I am. Okay. All right. We can continue.
Yeah. So what we were shown by Tom with the wiki, that side shot, was just an animation, is actually impossible. Light cannot work that way. So I know people are tied into their ball. It's okay. I mean, I think they employ thousands of people to go online and convince people to they live on a ball. That's just me.
Okay.
I've had two people actually tell me that they were paid, but it's fine. I mean, I can't do anything about that.
Yeah, I don't think I've been convinced by anybody who could be being paid other than like just the regular scientists. So then science communicators, unless that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I look at some people. I look at some people that that you and I both know on Discord, and they're not working, or they have a part-time job. Um, and so I look at that and I go, you're 35, 40 years old and you're not working, but you're on Discord. Instead of going out looking for a job, you're on
Mm-hmm.
Discord selling us your ball, telling us you live on a ball. I have a real problem with that because I'm retired. I have a couple of income sources, and so, but I'm not 35 or 40 unemployed and sitting on Discord talking to people that they live on a ball. I'm not doing that because if I was 35 or 40 unemployed, I wouldn't be on Discord. I would be out trying to get a job to support my family or myself. That's just
Yeah, it's
me.
the difference at times. Like kids nowadays, I tell you what, you can make a living doing anything.
So what makes you a sensible globe earther and not like one of these crazed ones that I'm not going to name any names, but
Mhm.
any of these crazed ones that you and I both come across on Discord once in a while.
Sensible in the fact that I'm willing to be convinced of the opposition, where I feel some, globies, as you put it, or we'll even say globetards, are fixed in the position and can't fathom, that it could be wrong. I'm not convinced it's wrong, but I'd be willing to hear, someone out.
Yeah, because it's interesting. I I got banned off of Gem Panda a few months ago, and Earth is Life. You know who Earth is Life is. He invited me back, and so I joined like an hour and a half ago. And I went on there just before I came to see you here, and they were talking about health, and it's like this is going to be so cool. I mean, they're all germ theory people, which is okay, but it's going to be so much fun. And of course, they're all Globers, or most of them are all Globers.
I've never been to Gem Pandas. I wouldn't mind
Yeah.
trying it.
Hey, I look at it this way. You say things. See, you say things like I would have said things 3, 4 years ago if somebody would have confronted me with flat Earth. Because in May of 2021, when I first got into Space Busters and I got into Steve at Space Busters and Amanda Fulmer and Terrain Theory, Antoine Bechamp's Terrain Theory, I remember sitting in my car in my driveway in Dallas, and somebody said, "Why don't you look into flat Earth?" This was May of 2021. And I thought to myself, no way. I'm not going to be a crazy person. I'm not going to be uneducated. I'm not going to come across that way. I just said, no, I hate the term flat earth, and I'm not going to be a flat earther. Guess what? 6 months later, I was, and I hate the term. That's
Mhm.
why, you'll never hear me call myself a flat earther. I'm a water worlder,
Mhm.
or I'm under the heavens, and I have a cap out in the car that says stationary topographical plane on it. And so I will never call myself a flat earther because one, the world's not flat, and two is Earth is the land. We only have 28, 29% land. The rest is water. And if you're biblical in any way, which not everybody is, you have heavens above, heavens below, water world.
Mhm.
And if you believe Genesis 1, 6 through 10, it's possible that we're 96, 97, 98% water instead of just 71%. So
So, if you were to like stand outside of the reference frame of the whole system that we're in right now, what is the best shape you could put to the world we live on?
well, it is stationary. I don't believe we're going around the sun. I think the sun is going around us.
Okay.
And we are topographical. Mount Everest is 29,200 feet. We are told. We are told the basins of the Pacific is 36,000 feet. That's 13 miles top to bottom. And we're generally a plain. I mean, so um, I like Under the Heavens a lot because Demon, because I don't have to decide what the shape of the Earth is. It's under the heavens. We'll let somebody else worry about that. So I know we can't go below the 60th parallel. Antarctic Treaty, Article 6, paragraph 1 through 6 says you cannot freely and privately explore south of the 60th parallel unless you go to that little place that sticks
Mhm.
out south of South America, or you wait three months for a permit to go through. And once you go, which you can go anywhere, and you have to be one of the 54 members of the United Nations that are down there is 206 nations. The United Nations recognized 206. 54 are down there. So if you're one of the 54 and you get the okay, you can go anywhere you want to, but you can't take dogs, you can't take snowmobiles, you have to take skis. You got to pull everything behind you on skis, and so the warmest it's got is 9 degrees above zero. The coldest it's got is 135 degrees below zero, which is 46 degrees colder than any place in the Arctic Circle. So why do I want to go there?
Well, if it could prove the existence of your creator, the creation of your creator, I don't know. I think I'd want to do it.
I can go see when it gets warmer. I can drive up Interstate 94 here, and I can go 38 miles up to St. Joseph, Benton Harbor, and I can see God's creation. And I have a P1000 that's going to help me do it. I have a tripod that's going to help me do it too. And I'm going to put it all over the internet. As many people that want to watch it. I'm not going to convince people that are on social media that they don't live on a ball. Again, I think many are paid. But I'm going to convince people who've never thought about it, people who are on the fence, and I'm going to let people who think like me to let them know they aren't alone. Because sometimes you can feel lonely when if I told somebody the United States is the most evil country that ever existed, has more blood on the flag than any USSR under Stalin has, and I tell people the viruses do not exist, and I tell people we don't live on a spinning space ball, I'm probably not going to get invited to many parties.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's where I stand. I stand on those three issues, and that's what I believe.
Okay, that's really interesting.
I think it's been a half hour.
Yeah, we could switch to the history if you wanted.
Yeah. Okay. Can I ask you a direct question? Please.
Yes. Hold on one slide.
See what it looks like. When you were talking to dogs the other night, when Austin was moderating,
mm-hmm.
Behind you, you had something that said "We the People" on. I don't know if you can see "We the People" right here.
Yep.
You see where it says "We the People." I went and got some money out of the ATM, and they gave me crisp $10 bills, and it says "We the People," and you had "We the People," behind you. And yep. So, how scale of 1 to 10, 1 being it was just something I said, and 10 going, yeah, we the people. Jefferson, yeah, we the people. Where are you? 1 to 10.
I'm going to say 9 because there's always room for improvement.
So you are pretty patriotic.
Yeah.
Okay. I used to be too. I had this picture of me holding a Trump sign. In Dallas at Southwest Airlines, where Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks play. It was October 19, 2019, and I was there. I was there with 20,000 other people, and I had they were giving away red and blue Trump signs, and I had somebody take a picture of me, with my Trump sign, and so I was all in. I was all in, but now I'm all out. So.
You see, I'd say that's more political versus patriotic, because I mean, being patriotic is fighting, for either side, but the rights that we uphold as a country,
How do you feel? I'm gonna start asking you questions. Is it okay?
Fine.
How do you feel about the 56 signers, founders in July 4th, 1776? In Philadelphia, that building was owned by Freemasons. How do you feel about those 56 white guys who signed that? 38 of them were slave owners.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure some of them are a bit racist, and when they were writing down, that every man is created equal, they definitely didn't have a certain set of people in mind at the time.
What I find interesting is the only people that could vote. You look back and you go, "Hey, John Adams got these many votes, and his opponent got this many votes." I don't know if Adams was third president. I know Jefferson was third president or third puppet. Back then, you had to own land, and you had to be white, and you had to be a guy to be able to vote. They relaxed that through the years, and in 1870 they finally gave the black man the chance to vote in national election, Senate, House, presidential. That was 94 years later.
Right.
And then in 1875 in the South, there was this group of men called the Red Shirts that actually wore red. And they went and terrorized uppity black men, people. They were the prelude to the KKK. Who had 4 million members in 1920 in a population of 110 million. You extrapolate that out. Today, that would be 12 million members because we have KKK members because we have 330 people. Can you imagine living in a country? That we had 12 million out of 330 million that were KKK members today?
Yeah, that'd be scary, honestly.
Yes. So you can imagine what it was back in 1920 when there was 4 million out of 110 million, and they marched on Washington. I think a lot of us seen those pictures where they were actually marching on Washington D.C. And then I saw this movie when I was 23, 24, just because I was a teacher for a year, and so I showed it. Have you ever seen Birth of a Nation?
No.
Okay. Birth of a Nation came out. I asked you to watch it. I watched it. It came out in 1915. The most racist film of all time. This film was just getting started back then. One of the most racist films of all time. 1915. Birth of a Nation. Woodrow Wilson, President Puppet at the time, showed it in the White House. And it's just like. So when people say, well, they were like that back then. They were like that back then. No, they weren't. They were like you and me. They were taught to hate. Most of us weren't taught to hate. Love comes in all colors. We can accept it, or we can be blind. That's why I don't talk about race, because I don't care. Because love comes in all colors. We can accept it, or we can be blind. So, but back then, that's only 108 years ago.
Right.
And we had a puppet of the United States that a lot of people admire today, Wilson. He showed it in the White House, and I'm going, we the people is we the white guys. That's all it was. It was we the white guys.
Yeah.
It was we the white guys for 94 years. Women got the right to vote in 1920. And then we had the Civil Rights Movement, which white people in the South said, no, we're going to hang you if you get too uppity, or we're going to do Mississippi burning, where we kill 3 kids that come down from the north to try to help people in the South.
Or like Black Wall Street that they burnt to the ground because it was actually taken off.
Yeah, I contend this. And we can discuss this some other time if we run out of time. I contend this, and we can actually make this the preface of our next conversation. I contend that only America, the only thing America was built for was the advancement of the white guy. That's it. Because black people have never had a chance, Hispanics have never had a chance, women have never had a chance until women got a chance with the Title IX in 1972, where they could go play sports. 1972. But then that guy in Pennsylvania who was 6'1", 180 pounds, who was ranked 451st in the world, decided he was going to become a woman, and then he won the 500. He won the 50-meter dash or whatever it was at the NCAA tournament. So he went from 451 with guys to number 1 because he decided to become a girl. And just think about this.
Right.
Think about that University of Pennsylvania girl whose mom and dad and her went everywhere that they could afford to do swimming meets, and all that time it took to get to be the 12th member of the University of Pennsylvania women's swim team. And then this 6'1", 180-pound guy comes along, goes, I'm going to be a woman. I'm going to swim. Screw that woman that was the 12th member of the team.
Is this a recent thing?
Yeah, that's in the last year.
Hmm.
And then you got him standing, getting his whatever. I don't know if it was called a gold medal or not even, but he's getting there, getting his gold medal for winning the race. And the woman who came in second place, who would have won, she had this really strange stare on her face, going, "Who the heck are you?"
Yeah,
And it's
I've
just
actually
like,
got an
and
opinion
it's
on
just like,
these.
go
Um,
ahead,
well,
go ahead.
I guess for me is I'm not an athlete, right? So I would want to ask the athletes that are, in the sports whether they want um, or that whether they care. And I haven't heard much outcry from the women athletes that are apparently losing as much. But also, I'm not sure that this is actually a numbers thing. I don't think it's that big of a deal that it's like people are going to start transitioning just to win at sports. You know.
Some are.
Some
I
are.
have the opinion that
I
this
have the
gentleman
opinion that this gentleman
who transitioned to a
who
woman
transitioned to a woman did it to win. There are weightlifters who have done it. There are track people who have done it, and so it's I
Hmm.
I don't look at this stuff as much as I used to because I kind of given up on the social political aspects of things. But I've given it my TV. I haven't had it on for the last 5 weeks, and so I don't see quite as much of it as I used to. But
Yeah.
in the Olympics, you can change your gender to compete in the other gender. The Olympic Committee allows you to do that.
Yeah. I think there's rules that they can follow for it. Uh, I just don't really have, much of an opinion other than I would ask the people that are competing what they want. But because from the outside, it's just a lot of people, having an opinion about a sport they don't play every time I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's my oldest daughter played through high school volleyball, and then my youngest daughter played through college volleyball. Luckily, they don't have this. The men's volleyball, the setters are all like 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", and some are even 6'5". In ladies volleyball, if you're 6 foot 6'1" as a setter, you can write your own ticket any college in the country, basically. So the girls who are 5'6", 5'8", like my daughter was, they're not going to get scholarships to the big school, to the big school of Big Ten, SEC, Pac-12, and things like that. So can you imagine if some guy would have come along who wasn't good enough to play at a big school and said, "I'm going to transition. I'm 5'8". I'm not big enough to be a setter in men's volleyball. I'm only 5'8" or 5'9",
Do we know
and I'm
that
going
that
to
was
go."
the reason that they did it though?
I don't think they're going to tell you.
Hmm.
I don't think somebody is going to tell you that they changed from a male to female so they could play. Now, when this gentleman who was ranked 451st in the world at Pennsylvania, and he transitioned and he won, and he was ranked number one in the world. If somebody wants to tell me he didn't do it because he didn't think he could win, okay, whatever.
Hmm.
It's not the top thing on my thoughts.
Right. Well, like you
So
could. Oh, sorry.
go ahead. Go
Like
ahead.
I say, like, well, there may be a future where this is the norm. Think about it when black people weren't allowed to play basketball with white people, and they stepped up and physically superior and somehow just seemed better at the sport. Should they had not have been allowed because they didn't have a place at the table, we wouldn't have the NBA now. But maybe in the future we'll have a completely different look on what we view as men's and women's sports.
Yeah, I think some people take it from a biblical standpoint. We were born men, we were born women, and that's how we are. And then we're actually going against God's law
Mhm.
that we want to change over. And I think there's a certain amount of that involved, which is it's somebody's personal opinion. It's their opinion. That's fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of that I'm not really knowledgeable on. I've been learning a lot lately. I didn't even know that there was like people who can present as male that have both sets of chromosomes, like male and female, and vice versa. And you'd never, you don't ever look outwardly like that. But There's a lot, I guess, that I don't know, and to take a position for me is, I guess, just not my place.
Yeah,
As long as it isn't hate filled.
Yeah, I think the biggest. I take position on the. I have a strong opinion on abortion. I talked about it for 30 years. I'm talked out. I don't care anymore to talk about it. I'll say I care, but I don't want to get into it because I've been talking about it for 30 years until I was blue in the face. And so, but it's the Earth thing, it's the virus thing, and it's the United States thing. So, we the white people, 1776, black people didn't get a chance to vote until 1870. What is your opinion? 1857, when the U.S. Supreme Court, 1857, said that black people were 3/5 of a human being. If you were alive then, knowing what you know now, what do you think?
Right. Well, I mean, if I was alive then, knowing what I know now, I'd be like, well, that math doesn't add up, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I look at the United States of America and I go, we go to war when 15 or 20 families tell us to go to war. We kill 25 to 50 million people through Riley, Kansas in late 1917 and 1918 because all the soldiers who went overseas for the first time had to be vaccinated, and they were vaccinated between 14 and 25 times, all of them. And so only the vaccinated died. So I look at that 25 to 50 million, depending on what you believe. And I'm going, if I believe in countries, which I don't believe in countries, if you believed in countries, you would have to say that the Spanish flu and America entering the war for just 1 year, they were just over the war started in 1914, it was over in 1918, and they started going over in late 1917, 1918. So they were only there for a year. And so what were they there for, Demon? They were there to spread the Spanish flu that got injected into them at Riley, Kansas. That's what they were there for.
That's interesting. I don't think I've heard that theory before. What do you think about George Washington inoculating his troops? Do you believe in that story as well?
I think that is entirely different. You're talking 1775, 74, 73, 1777. When people say that they were being vaccinated, that is either totally different than what we're talking about now, or that's a lie. Because you can make an argument, I can make an argument that Copernicus, Descartes, Newton, Galileo never lived. That we can be pretty sure about we can be pretty sure about Charles Darwin and the Origin of Species in 1859, because we know he had a grandfather named was Erasmus Darwin. He was a grandfather that actually started the evolution movement in the UK before Charles did. So I'm going back. A lot of things are made up. The people that run the world write the history books. The people that run the world tell us when we look up, and people who run the world write the dictionaries too. And so when we go look up level, and they tell us the third definition down is it's curved because the Earth is curved. Level equals curved because the Earth is curved. I'm going. What are we doing here?
Right. So when you say level is curve, what do you mean by that?
Here's what we're told,
right.
my friend.
Right.
Here's what we're told. We're told that water is level here, but Demon, if we go out a couple miles this way and a couple miles this way to where we can't see it anymore, it mysteriously starts to curve. We never see water curve, and we don't see it curve here. But how many people have told me, well, go out about 2 miles and it'll start to curve. Go out 2 miles that way, it will start to curve. Why? Have you ever seen it? No, but I know it does. You know why? Because I know I live on a ball. Because I was told, Demon, at 5 years old, Demon, I was told at 5 years old when I walked into the kindergarten and there was this thing by the teacher, not this thing exactly, but there was this thing by the teacher's desk, and the teacher would never lie to me because the teacher believed the lie. The teacher wasn't lying to me; she or he believed the lie. And when we were there, and then she said, he or she said, "Come up and tell me where you live," and I went up there and I went, "I live right there by Peoria, Illinois, just south of Lake Michigan." And you know what? I was 5, 6, 7 years old, and I didn't get the chance to think for myself until I was 10. And by the time I was 10, I was convinced that we lived on this. And if I wasn't convinced and I came back and said we didn't live on this, that my family, friends, schoolmates, teachers would all laugh at me, and I would never get another A the rest of my life.
So you were bringing up
Tell me
flat
if
Earth
I'm
that
wrong,
far
Damon.
back?
No, I'm saying I was into my ball.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Awesome.
there's just, I know. We don't live on a ball, and viruses don't exist. The United States is the most evil country that ever existed. And I know that's really not what people want to hear, and I appreciate that. But viruses do not exist, and we do not live on a ball. I mean, I was never called mentally ill until I believed we lived on a ball. I mean, lived on a stationary plane. I was never called mentally ill. But as soon as I looked into it and I saw we didn't live on a ball,
Mhm.
I'm mentally ill. I'm mentally ill on Facebook. I am even not a human being.
Oh, you
Somebody
are.
on Facebook the other day, a person other day told me I was less than human.
You should go on Facebook. It's definitely not a good idea. Thank you, YOY, who's new subscriber. We're about to get out of here, Jim, but do you want to give maybe a last minute roundup to anybody who's listening and where they can find you?
Oh, I'm just starting on YouTube, so I'm going to have a friend help me to especially when I get my P1000 going. I'm going to put that everywhere that listens. No, actually I'm just on Discord, Jim Waterworld. I'm on uh, Telegram at Jim Waterworld. I am at Under the Heavens on Instagram. So um, if you want somebody to be your ally in this struggle against the globe, against viruses, and against this patriotic America that doesn't exist, I'm your person. I'll be your ally. I won't be your leader. I'll be an ally.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming, Jim. We're going to do this again. We'll keep our fireside chats up.
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing from you again, and have a good night.
Yeah, we just touched on a little bit, so we'll touch on more some other time. Hey, Demon, thanks for having me on. You're great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Take care, everybody.
All right, guys. So we just had Jim Waterworld on to do our first fireside chat. I'll put out there that I do believe in viruses, and I do believe that the world is a globe, just so everyone is aware. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Come back for more. We'll have more debates. Check out our Cosmology Tartaria Radio on Discord. Just search for Tartaria Radio. And have a good night.